What if I told you one of the most powerful Viking warlords in history did not die in battle? Not by a sword, not by an arrow, not even by betrayal, but by a single tooth. A dead man's tooth. In the late 9th century, the northern seas trembled at the name Sigurd the Mighty. He ruled the Orkney Islands and expanded his power across northern Scotland. Feared, respected, and ruthless, Sigurd was everything a Viking leader was supposed to be. He won wars, he crushed rivals, he built a legacy of strength. But history does not always reward the strong. Sometimes it punishes the arrogant. And Sigurd's final victory would become the beginning of one of the strangest deaths ever recorded in Viking history.
Sigurd's power was growing across the northern lands. Village after village fell under his control. His name carried fear across the highlands. But not everyone bowed. A rival warlord, Male Bricte, stepped forward with a challenge. 40 warriors against 40 warriors. A fair fight, an honorable battle. In the Viking world, honor meant everything. Sigurd accepted. But honor was not part of his plan. On the morning of battle, instead of 40 men, he brought 80, hidden behind the hills, waiting. When the fight began, the Pictish warriors realized too late. Steel clashed, shields shattered, the field filled with chaos. Outnumbered and surrounded, Male Bricte's forces collapsed. The duel of equals had become a massacre. And as the smoke cleared, Sigurd stood victorious. But this victory would cost him more than he ever imagined.
The battle was over. Male Bricte was dead. But for Sigurd, killing him was not enough. He wanted a message, a warning to every rival who dared to stand against him. So he ordered something brutal. Male Bricte's head was severed, not displayed on a wall, not buried in the earth. Instead, Sigurd tied it to his saddle. As he rode across the highlands, the severed head hung at his side, a symbol of dominance, a trophy of conquest. The wind blew through his beard. His warriors followed in silence. To them, it was proof of power. To Sigurd, it was humiliation delivered. But pride has a way of blinding men. Because with every step his horse took, the dead man's teeth brushed against Sigurd's bare leg. Again and again, a small scratch formed. So small, he barely noticed. But history would remember it, not as a mark of victory, but as the beginning of his end.
Sigurd rode proudly across the highlands. The battle was behind him. Victory was his. The severed head of Male Bricte swung beside his leg with every powerful stride of his horse. At first, it meant nothing, just a trophy, just a reminder of dominance. But the teeth of the dead man were sharp, and with each movement, they scraped against Sigurd's bare skin. A small cut opened. A thin line of red appeared. Sigurd ignored it. He had endured worse. Broken bones, deep sword wounds, battle scars that told stories of survival. This was nothing, or so he believed. By the time he reached his stronghold, the wound had grown irritated, red, swollen. Still, he laughed it off. A mighty Viking brought down by a scratch? Impossible. But infection does not fear strength. It does not care about honor, or reputation, or victory. And slowly, silently, the poison began to spread.
Sigurd returned to his stronghold. His warriors celebrated. The banners waved. Victory songs echoed. But Sigurd felt something strange, a burning in his leg, a fever creeping through his body, a subtle weakness he could not ignore. At first he laughed, just the battle fatigue, he said, but the pain grew. Redness spread, swelling and chills overtook him. The mighty Viking, feared across the north, was now trapped in his own body. No enemy swords, no ambushes, no betrayals, just a tiny scratch and the deadly infection it carried. Doctors and healers tried their remedies, potions, poultices, prayers. Nothing worked. The hall that once rang with songs of conquest now echoed with groans and whispers of doom. And as the hours passed, Sigurd's strength faded. His body betrayed him. The hero who had dominated battlefields, who had crushed rivals, who had humiliated enemies, was slowly falling to something invisible. History would call it irony, but at that moment, it felt like tragedy.
The halls were silent. Sigurd's warriors gathered around. The once mighty warlord, feared by all, lay weakened. A tiny scratch, a small miscalculation, had brought him to the edge. His breaths came shallow. The infection spread faster than anyone could contain. His sword lay unused beside him. The banners of victory fluttered like mocking ghosts. And as Sigurd's eyes closed, history sealed his fate. A man who had conquered armies, captured heads, and commanded fear, was undone by the tiniest enemy. The irony was brutal, the legend unforgettable. But before the final silence, Sigurd's warriors looked at one another, and one whispered, "What lesson does history teach us?" A question that still echoes today. Was it strength, or hubris, or fate itself? And now, dear viewer, I ask you, if you were in Sigurd's shoes, would you have acted differently? Comment below with your answer. Share your thoughts. Debate the strategy. Because this story isn't just about Vikings. It's about choices, risks, and the tiniest decisions that can change everything.